All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sebastian Boyer's The Approved Guys Legacy Generation System Legacy Live Wednesday. This is our second episode, and tonight's episode, the format for these events, for these live meetings, is really simple. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to have a specific topic that I'm going to focus on from the Legacy Generation System, and as we finish going through all of the pillars, we're going to expand into subtopics and go into deeper conversations into higher level and very specific niche topics within the legacy generation system. So tonight's conversation, we're going to be talking about where do you store your wealth? Where do you store your wealth? All right. Without further ado, let's get right to it. Let's get started. All right. So Proverbs chapter 21, verse 20 says that a wise man saves for the future, but a foolish man spends whatever he gets. Sadly, 74% of Americans don't have 2 months of savings to cover an emergency, and 40% have no retirement savings. Now, there is a difference between saving and investment or investing. Saving means preserving your money for short-term and long-term goals, emergencies, and opportunities. There's little to no risk when you are saving money. Investing means we're putting our money to work to grow over time by purchasing assets that can fluctuate in value, like stocks, real estate, or crypto, or any other investment. There is an inherent risk when we're investing. Saving protects your money while investing multiplies it. Both are necessary, and one builds your foundation while the other builds your future. So where are you storing your wealth? If you're on the live now, go ahead and type it in the comments. Tell me, where are you storing your wealth? Are you storing it in a savings account, checking account, money market account? What type of an account are you using to store your wealth? Do you have it in a CD, a 401k, 403b, 457b, inside of a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, inside of an HSA account or a 529 plan? Where are you storing your wealth? And if you're joining on the replay, please go ahead and type in a comment, and I'll make sure that I respond to your comments later on. So this leads us to the second pillar of the legacy generation system. The second pillar of the legacy generation system is your wealth reserve account. Optimize savings the wealthy way. Your wealth reserve account is a high cash value whole life insurance policy issued by a dividend-paying mutual life insurance company, engineered and optimized for maximum early cash value growth, guaranteed lifetime protection, tax-advantaged cash flow access, and generational wealth transfer. It's not just insurance. It's privatized financial contracts that operate as both a liquid reserve and a long-term wealth multiplier. This makes it the core funding and storage mechanism for the system. As a policy owner, you control the contract, not the insured. And the owner has full control over the premium payments, policy loans, and beneficiaries. The owner can be an individual trust. It can be an individual, a person, or it could be a trust, or it can be a business entity, allowing very strategic asset protection and estate planning. Many states provide strong creditor protection for life insurance cash value and death benefits. This means that if the policy owner is sued, files bankruptcy, or faces collections, the cash value inside a wealth reserve contract is often shielded. It's also liquid and accessible. you can access up to 90% of the cash value via policy loans without triggering a taxable event. Your funds can be used to pay off debt or debt consolidation, for funding your business, for real estate and other investments, or to recapture opportunity costs. And as a wealth transfer, it's a tax-free death benefit at the end of your life, ensuring generational wealth transfer. And the funds can go to a trust that protect your heirs from mismanagement, creditor, or taxes. So your wealth reserve contract or your wealth reserve account is your whole life insurance policy, properly designed and optimized with a dividend-paying mutual company where you have guarantees plus dividends. Your money is safe. It is not at risk. It's the contract that protects the money inside of your vault. Your vault is where inside the contract is the money is being stored. It's where your cash value is being stored. This cash value is what you can borrow against. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example of what one of these potential policies could look like. So here we can see a policy that is being funded $20,000 a year. Just going to get my highlighter. So we could see the policies being funded $20,000 a year right there. That's the premium for the first year. The guarantee net cash value, this is a contractual guarantee for the first year, you have access to borrow against $16,922, which means if you put $20,000 in today, you have access to borrow against that $16,922 within 2 to 3 weeks. You don't have to wait a year to leverage and borrow that. You can access it immediately. You have a guaranteed death benefit of $412,941 in the first year. Now, that's the guaranteed column. You're also going to be getting dividends. This example is showing an annual dividend of $926 for this first year, which when you combine the dividend plus the guarantee, you have a net increase of cash value of $17,848. So in truth, you're able to borrow against $17,848 with the dividends, $16,922 on the guaranteed column, and with the dividends added, you have access and can borrow against $17,848 with a death benefit of $413,417. That's year one. Year two, you funded another $20,000, and you'll see there's a net increase on the dividend side of $19,390. On year three, you funded $20,000, and you have a net increase of $20,322. So by year three, you're purchasing a life insurance contract with a death benefit of $501,958, but your net increase in cash value on the dividend side is $20,322. Your cost for the year is $20,000. Your net cash value is $20,322 that year alone. Your cumulative net cash value when you add years 1, 2, and 3 together are $57,561. On year four, after another $20,000 of funding, the cumulative premium is $80,000. Your net increase for the year is $21,298. You put $20,000 in, you have $21,298 that year. The cumulative growth is $78,859. You're just about $1,100 short of breaking even on your cumulative premium. By year number 5, your cumulative premium, after putting in another $20,000 for the year, is $100,000, and your net cash value is $101,216 with a death benefit of $593,050. Now, this column that we're looking at, this net cash value column, can be borrowed against. You're able to borrow up to 90% of whatever sits in that column. Now, on the guaranteed side, you know, as long as you do 20,000 a year, you are guaranteed what you see here. The dividends are being added to come up with the net cash value on the non-guaranteed side. And this is the growth potential. So I always like to think of the guarantees as guarantees. Your money is safe, it's liquid and accessible. And the dividends are bonuses that you can expect, but the dividends are going to fluctuate. That's why it's not guaranteed. This is an assumption of 100% of the current dividend scale. So whatever the illustration of at that current moment, whatever the dividend is for the year for that insurance company, the illustration is showing you what it would look like if that dividend never changed. So it's an assumption of the current dividend scale if it never changed. But the dividends do change. Dividends can go up and down. But the guarantees are guaranteed. They're locked in. So you are going to get dividends, but you don't know what they're going to be because they are going to fluctuate. And so as we go down further, you'll notice the death benefit is increasing year over year, right? And you'll notice that there's a drop in death benefit on year 11. Why is that? The way this policy was designed, was so that you're able to get the maximum cash value into the policy for the minimum death benefit. This is not a normal design of a life insurance contract. Most insurance agents are not designing policies this way. What they're doing is they're putting the majority of funds into the base cost of insurance to get you the maximum death benefit. And that's why whole life insurance has a bad reputation. Because when you look at the cost of whole life insurance just for the death benefit, it's very expensive and it doesn't make sense. There are less expensive ways to get permanent death benefit with instead of using whole life insurance. However, the design of this policy is specifically engineered and optimized so that we have maximum cash value and minimum death benefit. So we're minimizing the insurance cost to increase the storage space that we're going to put the cash value inside the policy, into the vault that you're putting your cash value into. And so as a result, what we're doing is we're purchasing a term rider on this policy so that we can purchase the minimum death benefit for that period of time, which will allow us to store as much cash value as we want. Now, we could put that term rider in for 10 years, like I show you here. This is what we're looking at, which is why we have a 10-year play, and then it drops. And then after 10 years, the base premium gets reduced. But we could also put it in for 20 years or 30 years. It depends on the particular policy from the insurance carrier, whether you can extend that term policy, and also based on the age of the person who is purchasing the policy. But we can set up and design a policy so you can fund the policy all the way up until 100 years old, funding it with max cash value and minimum cost of insurance. Or we can do a play like this where we stop it after 10 years or after 20 years. So I'm showing this so you can understand that there's flexibility. Now, this policy is going to have a minimum base premium. It's going to have an insurance cost. That insurance cost is going to be minimal compared to what's being put into the cash value. So if we were to look at this policy right now, this is basically just about a 89%, 11% split, almost a 10-90 split. 10% going towards the base premium, 90% going towards cash value. You can actually see that on year 11, the base premium is only $2,000. So approximately $2,000 is going towards the hard cost of insurance, while the rest of it is going towards the cash value. Though that means your commitment to the insurance company is the base premium. The cash value portion gives you flexibility. If you're unable to pay it, that's okay. You can catch up later. Now, you do want to fund your policy as much as possible. So this way you can grow the policy. You can realize those guarantees. You can leverage it over and over and over, basically treating your policy like a line of credit. But this is your cash value. So when you replenish it, you're replenishing your own bank. You're creating your own personal bank, leveraging and utilizing the life insurance contract with the protections of the contract. The main protection, there's a few protections, but one is the tax-free growth, and two, everything is protected by the death benefit. So let's go down to when 30 years later, the total cumulative in this example here is 240,000 that was paid into the contract, including the premiums and cash value. The contract now has $598,000, almost $600,000 of cash value that you can borrow against, with an $892,000 death benefit. Now, let's just say a couple years back, you borrowed against the policy and took out a policy loan of $300,000. And you started paying it back, but you still have a balance. And on that 30th year, you passed away. Well, there's a death benefit of $892,121. The balance of your policy loan will be settled by the death benefit. It will be paid by the death benefit, which means that in the living years, you don't have a due date. You don't have a minimum payment due. The insurance company does not dictate to you when or how much to pay back. So that gives you back control over your cash flow. So as an investor, by funneling your money into a wealth reserve account like this, borrowing against it, and then investing it into assets such as real estate, the stock market, or the crypto market, or any asset you want, your business, what you're doing is you're creating a hedge of protection, because the death benefit is going to protect you from losses in the long run. Because if you don't pay back your policy loan, the death benefit will pay it back for you. If you pay it back, you can leverage it again and again. And here's the kicker. While you're borrowing against the policy, it's uninterrupted compounding interest growth. So that means that the growth of the policy with the guarantees and the dividends are uninterrupted while you're borrowing against the policy. So your money is working in two places at the same time, growing tax-free compound interest plus dividends inside the policy and growing in your investments outside the policy. When you replenish your policy, you now have access to leverage it again and again. So as you age and you get into your senior years, you're going to be able to leverage that cash value for a supplement of your retirement income. In the early years, you'll use it for fill in the blanks. You can use it to pay off debt, what I call a debt to wealth transfer. You can use it to fund investments. You can just keep it safe and secure as an emergency fund or as an opportunity fund. And when you need it, you can access it for whatever you need. You can use this as an alternative college savings plan. You can use this for any major expense that you're going to have to pay out. And instead of financing it with high interest rates through credit cards and loans from banks, you can self-finance major purchases, major investments, or you can offset some of the costs depending on how much you can contribute to a policy. You can fund a policy with $2,000 a month. You can fund a policy with $200 a month. You can fund a policy with $20,000 a month. You can fund a policy with $200,000 a month. It's up to you. You can participate at almost any level as long as you have cash flow and you're able to appropriately fund the policy. That's what's important, is making sure that the design is appropriate based on your circumstances. Here's another policy example where someone is going to do a lump sum one-time dump in of $200,000. This is a completely different design. And they're going to pay just the base on that policy for 9 more years after that. And then there's no more premium. So for anyone who says that, well, you have to fund the policy all the way until you're 100 years old and that, it just doesn't make sense. That's not true. It's really up to you how you want to design the policy based on your short-term and long-term goals. There's a time and place to fund a policy until you're 100 years old. There's a time and place to fund it for 20 or 30 years. And there may be a time or place to fund only for 10 years and then stop all premiums after. So in this example, we have $200,000 going in on year 1 with a guaranteed cash value of $170,931 and a death benefit of $4,283,811. net cash value with the dividend is going to be $177,771. So you're going to be able to borrow up to 90% of the net cash value on the dividend side, with a death benefit of $4,290,652. The next year, you're only paying the base, but your policy cash value increases more than your premium. You paid $21,636. You have a net increase of $24,177. On the third year, you paid another $21,636. You have a net increase of $29,125. So as you see, the cash value is compounding and growing faster than you can put money into the policy. You will overcome your total cost of insurance based on your original premium, in this example, on year number 5. Your cumulative premium is $286,543. That year you paid $21,636. Your net cash growth is $32,000. So just that year, you made almost $10,000 more based on your $21,636 premium. But your cumulative from day one, when you put in that original $200,000, combined total is $286,543. And on this year, your policy hits $293,617. So your total cumulative net cash value has now outpaced your cumulative premium, which means that your cost of insurance has been offset. So anyone who says that this is expensive and this doesn't make sense, you're just not understanding the numbers. You're not looking at the value of the compounding interest, tax-free growth, and the dividends, and the fact that you have access to this money immediately within 30 days of funding that policy. You can now access this, leverage it, and invest it in your business, or in the stock market, or in crypto, or in real estate, or pay off debt, whatever it is that you want to do. You don't have to wait 5 years for a policy to grow or season. You don't have to put your money in a money market account or a CD where you can't get access to it, or have it set up in a 401k where you're going to pay a tax consequence in the future, and then you have no access to the money without penalties and taxes. You can fund a properly designed wealth reserve contract, store your money inside the wealth reserve vault, have immediate access to deploy it, and use it in 2 places at the same time: in your policy as the policy grows, and in your investment on the outside of the policy. Recapture the cash value by paying yourself back, and then allow yourself to borrow from it again and again. And in this example, if I retired when I'm 67 years old, that's 33 years later, my cumulative premium that I put into this policy is $394,721. My cash value is $1.3 million, tax free. I can borrow against that to supplement my retirement income, or maybe I'm going to continue to invest and grow my business. And whatever I borrow against, I have flexibility. There's no due date, there's no credit check, there's no minimum payment. I pay it back on my own schedule. Bottom line, I have control. If I don't pay it back and I pass away, my death benefit will pay the balance of the policy loan. So it's a self-fulfilling plan. This is your wealth reserve contract. This is your wealth reserve vault. And this is how you can safely secure and protect your money so that you have access to leverage it, and then you can put it to work at the same time. This is the second pillar of the legacy generation system. You can go to legacygenerationsystem.com and access the masterclass for free. There's 7 pillars in the legacy generation system, and this is pillar number 2 that we reviewed tonight. If you want to scan the QR code, I'll leave it on the screen for just a moment, and you can scan the QR code to take you to the legacy generation system masterclass. We're going to end the session tonight with our legacy generation system affirmation. I am the steward of my family's wealth. wisdom, and values. I choose ownership over dependency, discipline over doubt, and purpose over fear. Every dollar I direct today multiplies freedom for tomorrow. I build, protect, and pass on a legacy of faith, family, and freedom. I will not quit until that legacy is secured for generations to come. Well, guys, I want to thank you for joining me tonight and watching the replay. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Let someone know who will let someone know about this information and about the Legacy Generation System Masterclass. Again, you can just go to legacygenerationsystem.com. There's going to be a link in the description below for you to access the masterclass, as well as to schedule a free consultation to discuss any of the 7 pillars or to talk about joining my team, the Kingdom Finance Team, if you're an agent or would like to become an agent and become a financial coach to help people with the Legacy Generation System and implementing the tools and strategies that we're teaching. Thank you so much for watching and participating. God bless you. Take great care, and I'll see you next week. Same time, same place, Wednesday, 8 p.m. See you then. Take great care. God bless.